What's up, everybody? Louie here. I just want to do a quick recap of UFC Vegas 73. I did horribly, and it's embarrassing, and it's depressing. And I really thought I made some good picks. Obviously, there was a lot of newcomers, people that only had a couple fights, people that I didn't really know off the top of my head. And a lot of the lines were close. So a lot of even money fights, basically. And I just managed to pick the wrong side in almost all of them. And I took some underdog shots that I was second guessing the whole time. I really wanted to pick an underdog, and that's another mistake I made. So, yeah. Just like right off the bat, Themba Garimbo, I just went with Takashi Sato. I don't know. I just watched a couple fights of both of them, and I just like Sato. He was a slight underdog at plus 100, not even really an underdog. And, Garimbo, and he was able to grapple him. He hurt Sato a couple times, and yeah, so that's a toss-up. Natalia Silva, that's a no-brainer. That was easy, but I didn't bet on her because she was minus 900. The one I'm really proud of, though, is Chase Hooper. He was plus 110, and it was just kind of a back-and-forth grappling affair. And Chase Hooper, he was able to eat some shots on the feet. His chin held up, and he was also able to land some big shots, and he was piecing up Nick Fury a couple times and was hurting him on the feet a little bit. And they just there was a lot of scrambling going on, and Chase Hooper held up. And I really thought the bump up in weight would help him, and it did. He looked good. And that's a guy a lot of people don't think should even be in the UFC right now. So, yeah, it was a good win for him. And, after that's like the big one I had of the card. After that, it all fell apart. Ilir Latifi and Rodrigo Nascimento Fiera. The fight went basically how I thought it would go. I was hoping Latifi would be able to get him down earlier. He wasn't. Nascimento pieced him up for the whole first round pretty much, and then piecing him up in the second round, Latifi gets that big single leg lift takedown, and he's able to get him to the mat, but he does absolutely nothing. And then in the third round, more of the same, but Rodrigo was landing a lot of shots on the feet. He was doing the damage. Latifi got him down and did no damage, basically. And I thought maybe they'll give a split decision to Latifi, and it went to Rodrigo. Watching it back, Rodrigo definitely won that fight. That's how it should have been scored, but I just thought there might have been a chance with the judges, and Latifi wasn't a big underdog, like plus 130 or something like that, plus 150 maybe, and I just should have won with who I thought was going to win, so that was my fault. And it seems as of late, for whatever reason, the heavyweight favorites are winning. The low-level heavyweight favorites are winning. It seems possibly that there's a new wave of heavyweights coming in off the Contender Series, and they're just getting the older guys out of there. Latifi plus 145, and the whole fight to go over 2.5 rounds was even money. That's a bet I should have hammered. So I just got a little greedy there, and it was stupid. And the bet now is for low-level heavyweights, just take the over. Don't even bet on the fighters, but I had to make a pick. And then Ryan Kosuke and Gilbert Urbina. that was a toss-up. Urbina, he was just vicious on the feet. I thought maybe the drop in weight would cause Urbina some issues. I know Kosuke hits hard, but Kosuke just couldn't get to him, and Urbina looked lighter and more accurate on his feet, so he looked even better. He got that knockout with a front kick to the chest, so he's good one for him. Karolina Kowalkiewicz or Vanessa Demopoulos. I went with Demopoulos, a slight underdog. I really thought Kowalkiewicz would be able to piece her up, which she did. Demopoulos landed a couple big shots here and there, but it went how you really think it would go. I only picked Demopoulos because she was an underdog, and yeah, I got to stop just picking blind women underdogs. It was a close fight again, so the underdog doesn't really profit that much, so I should have just picked Kowalkiewicz because it went how I really thought it was going to go. I was just hoping Demopoulos could land a big shot or something, and, I'm kind of picking against myself in favor of some underdog odds, and that was a big mistake for me. Then the main event of the prelims at lightweight, 155 pounds, Haishar Mahashate and Vyacheslav Borshev. I thought Mahashate would be able to keep him at range and piece him up, but Vyacheslav was able to close the distance and get in and land some big shots in the pocket, so it did not go my way. In the first round, Mahashate, he circles on the outside. He starts using some long jabs, so he was sticking jabs pretty early, but then Borshev, he was landing some counter hooks, landed a nice head kick, and then Mahashate would land it across in the pocket, but then Borshev drops him with a counter hook, landed some nice ground and pound right at the end of the round, like 10 seconds left to go, and it was all downhill from there. I kind of forgot how hard Borshev hits. In the second round, Borshev, he kept getting inside the pocket and he was landing some hooks. He was able to drop him with a counter right hook in exchange. And then back out of space, he dropped him again with a left and then a right hook and just cracked him. Just cracked him a couple times. Mahachate's chin did not hold up. And, you know, Vyacheslav, if he's not fighting a wrestler, I mean, he is very dangerous. He just cannot wrestle to save his life. So, yeah, big mistake on my end. But, again, that fight was pretty close. Underdog odds, or even money odds, and I just managed to pick the wrong person yet again. Actually, no, sorry. Highest share was plus 140, so that's why I took him, because I thought it was close on paper. In my shot day, you know, he was competitive against Rafa Garcia, but Borshev has different, like a lot stronger power than Garcia does, and I learned that the hard way. So, yeah, it was a tough one for me. Then the first fight on the main card was Diego Ferreira, Michael Johnson at 155. This one was soul-crushing for me. I picked Michael Johnson. I liked how he looked in his last 3 fights, actually. I thought he should have won the Jamie Malarkey fight. Michael Johnson was a decent underdog, plus 130. And Ferreira, I know he's fought nothing but elite competition. He's lost 3 in a row, but he's lost to, like, the best in that weight class, literally. But he's been off for like a year and a half, and I just didn't know how he would be coming back from injury. And you know, it was a doctor stoppage his last fight against Gamrot with the rib injury. I just picked Michael Johnson, and you know what? Until Michael Johnson got knocked out, he was looking very good. He was winning the fight. But Diego Ferreira has dynamite in his fists, and he actually absolutely nuked Michael Johnson's chin, and it was one of the scariest knockouts I've seen in a long time. In the first round, Mike was landing some jabs. He landed some straight counters off of Diego's hooks. Diego was winding up a bit. And then Mike was landing some hook flurry off of the cross. He was able to stuff the double leg attempts like very well. He knew they were coming a mile away. But then Diego was clipping him with some head kicks. And then he was able to land some counter straights in the pocket. But Mike was able to get it going at range, piecing him up and moving in and out. He looked very quick, very accurate. Then the second round, I was feeling very good at this point. Mike was landing some counter hooks in the pocket. But then Diego, he landed a head kick. And then, but then he shot a double. Mike was able to stuff the double. So I'm like, okay, Diego's getting a little desperate here for some reason. But then he's able to land it. But then Diego landed a jab and then a lunge overhand right out of, like, from range. And Michael Johnson dropped like a sack of potatoes. And I thought he was dead, honestly. So, yeah. It was a tough one, man, because I thought Michael Johnson, you know, the fight was kind of just getting going. Michael Johnson clearly won the first round. It was a tough one, man. Diego Ferreira showed us who he is. He's back, and he's ready to knock more people out, I guess, evidently. So, yeah, big win for him. Tough one for Michael Johnson. His chin does not hold up anymore, I guess, so soul-crushing. But Ferreira should fight Drew Dober. Drew Dober's coming off a loss, and he already called him out, so that's perfect, man. And they're going to get in there and bang. It's going to be very violent, so that's a perfect matchup. And then, you know, that gets Diego kind of back in that, like, lower 15 area. So, perfect fight. Easy one. Then I did good on this one, finally, at welterweight, second fight of the night, 170 pounds. Andre Fiallo and Joaquin Buckley, both guys really needed a win off of this. I was a little trepidatious because Joaquin Buckley coming out from 85 to 170. Typically, I like to fade guys that are dropping a weight class, but Buckley had been talking about it for a while, and he didn't look that big at 185, so I thought he'd be okay. Buckley looked amazing at 170, kind of like how Kevin Holland looks. Like, he just looks like he could be at 85, but he just looks in, like, peak condition at 170. Like, even more ripped, more jacked at 170 if that's possible. And he's, like, slightly bigger than guys, and it's good. And he doesn't look dead. He looked very well, moved very well. Still very fast, which is the thing when you drop weight. Sometimes guys look slower, but he looked faster. In the first round, Buckley was kind of moving side to side, and he was sliding in, landing some hooks. He would miss some, and they were a little too short, but the movement was getting going with him. And he's kind of feeling everything out. And then Andre landed some counter straights, and then he clipped him with the head kick, but Buckley was okay. And then Buckley was able to hit that blast double. Couldn't hold him, though. But not a whole lot happened in that round. They were just kind of feeling each other out. They both got devastating power, so I can understand that. And then the second round, Andre landed a right cross at range. But then Buckley was sliding in. He landed a hook and then an overhand right. And then he was landing some hooks in the pocket. He was beating him to the punch, moving in, getting out. And then he just lands a head kick counter off of Andre's hook at range and just knocks him out. And then Andre, like, sat up like The Undertaker. Buckley gave him one more on the ground, didn't need it. Buckley looked very good. Obviously, Fiallo has chin problems. He's coming off a couple losses, but he's a dangerous guy, and he's like a good warm-up fight at 170. Buckley looked really good. Buckley said, actually, he caught on Ian Gary. Shouldn't do that. I think Daniel Rodriguez and Buckley maybe might be a little bit too much of a jump, but you know, if Buckley's serious about making a title run, Daniel Rodriguez was just number 15. He got knocked out. He got finished by Neil Magny. He's on the downward slide, I think, unfortunately. Buckley and D-Rod, that's going to be a banger. I kind of like that fight. It might be a little too much for him, but that's one he should definitely consider. But yeah, and then Buckley, he was a pretty big favorite, but, you know, that's what I mean. I'm not consistent with my betting. I was in no problem betting minus 200 on Buckley, and then some other fights I had to save $20 saving with the underdog, like taking the plus 120 instead of like the even money. So whatever. Feature fight of the night, it was technically 120 pounds, but strawweight fight, 115, women's 115, Emily Ducote and Lupita Godinez. I picked Ducote. Looking back on the tape, I thought Godinez looked better. I watched them both against Angela Hill. Godinez did a lot more. Godinez hurt Angela Hill. Ducote basically just got shut down the whole fight, and I still went with Ducote because Godinez just doesn't use her wrestling, but she didn't need to in this fight. She was primarily a striker. They stood on their feet the whole time pretty much, and she's good enough to beat women on their feet. So yeah, and that was stupid of me to go back. I should have just went with my gut, went with Godinez, because again, it was basically an even money play. So stupid of me, and you know, even in women's fighting, I gotta just go with who I think is gonna win. You know, especially if it's that close. Don't know what I was thinking, but you know, pretty good fight, pretty entertaining. Godinez looked to improve a little bit. I didn't think she looked very good against Cynthia Calvillo. Didn't know if she could hang with the ranked women. It technically wasn't a rankings fight, but it was close to it, and you know, she looked really good. Really wasn't worried about the decision for Loopy. In the first round, Loopy was pressing with some jabs. She was throwing a bunch of 3-2s combinations. She was landing, and she was pretty quick in and out. And then Emily landed some counter jabs. Her single attempt got stuffed by Loopy pretty easily. Second round, Emily landed a blitz, and then she starts countering with some overhands and some 1-2s. Her double attempt got stuffed by Loopy again, and then Loopy was landing some knees in the front headlock. And then Emily was pressing with some hooks. She was landing some leg kicks, but then Loopy got the body lock. She tried to go for the body lock lift. It got stuffed, but it didn't look like she was fully committed, in my opinion. And then in the third round, Loopy was landing. And then lands whenever Emily was pressing to her, and she was starting to counter a little more. But then Emily was landing some counter hooks with the step-in 1-2 to the body. Loopy was okay. She can take a decent punch. And then Loopy started landing some overhands in the pocket, and then she would back out of the counter range. She's starting to get her range really down, and was making Emily miss a little more. And then Emily shot a single, but Loopy stuffed it with a whizzer. It looked like it was like a decently good attempt, but Loopy had that whizzer, and I think Loopy's the better wrestler anyway. And then Loopy landed a clean 1-2, finally got that double leg takedown at the end to seal the fight. Pretty competitive fight. I just thought, you know, Loopy was a little bit ahead, and yeah, I guess Loopy's going to be a striker now. Going forward, honestly, though, still going to be hesitant to bet her because she just doesn't use her wrestling enough. So, didn't use it against Angela Hill because she got scared because she got caught in a guillotine for a second. So, yeah, tough one. But yeah, Loopy passed a good test here. I would say she's like right on the cusp of the rankings. 115, obviously, well, arguably the toughest weight class for women. But, you know, maybe her and Tabitha Ricci sounds like a good fight. Tabitha's number 15. Emily Ducote was number 15. Then Angela Hill beat her. So, yeah. Or Luana Pinheiro. Or Michelle Waterson Gomez, maybe. That'd be a fun fight. But, yeah, I think she's ready for the rankings. So, yeah. Maybe, possibly a player. We'll see. I still think she needs to develop a little bit. But, you know, she's competent striking in this fight. Co-main event, this was my biggest flop of the whole card, in my opinion. At middleweight, 185 pounds, Edmund Shabazian, Anthony Hernandez. Shabazian, he was formerly like the golden child. Everybody thought he was going to be the next big thing. Very young guy. Then just gets smashed by Brunson. Got smashed by Imanov. What's his name? Imavov. Also got smashed by Jack Hermanson. So, yeah, and then they gave him a comeback fight against Dutcher Lungiambula. He looked pretty good, I guess. And then you give him Anthony Hernandez. Anthony Hernandez got knocked out by Kevin Holland. But then he really started to find his footing, and he submitted Rodolfo Vieira, got on everybody's radar. And then he put some fights together, beat Josh Fremd, submitted Marc-Andre Barriault, who Marc-Andre is a heavy cardio guy, so Anthony Hernandez out-cardioed him. So, yeah, this is kind of a big spot for Hernandez. He could beat a former big name. And then Shabazian, if he beat Hernandez, you know he's for real at 185, and he's back on track. So, on paper, I thought Hernandez was going to win because Shabazian's weakness is wrestling. Like, people just, especially later on in the fight, people will take him down, and people will literally beat the shit out of him on the ground. Imavov did it. Jack Hermanson bloodied both of his eyes on the ground. Brunson, he got exposed. And he kind of folds under pressure. That was his thing with him. But I noticed Anthony Hernandez, very great wrestler, very great pace, lots of submission attempts, lots of ground and pound, but he gets caught on the feet a little too much for me. And I thought Shabazian might have a really good first round and knock him out. That's what I really thought. Oh, not something I really thought, but once I looked at the line on it, I just did not, for whatever reason, I didn't feel comfortable betting minus 200 on Anthony Hernandez. I thought, this was a spot for Shabazian to get some redemption, make a comeback. But, as soon as I heard about the fight, I'm thinking in my head, and I'm watching the tape, yeah, Anthony Hernandez is going to take him down and beat the shit out of him. But that seemed too easy for me. I don't know why. And the minus 200, I just went with Edmund Shabazian. I thought he might be able to hurt him on the feet really bad. And he kind of did for the first round. But after that, it was all downhill. In the first round, Shabazian hurt him immediately with the jab, a stiff jab, rocked Hernandez. And then he landed some 1-2s. He landed some leg kicks. He was staying out of range of the takedowns, like way out. I was like, okay, Shabazian's going to be moving in and out. Hernandez isn't even going to touch him. That's not what happened. But then he circles. He gets shot against the fence. But he's able to lock up that guillotine. And then he pushes him into full mount. He tries to go for the arm. And then he tries to pull the arm bar. But then he gets reversed. And then he eats some ground and pound. Gets put in the rear naked choke submission attempts. And then you can see it start to go downhill from there. He was looking really good up until that point. When he pulled that guillotine, they got into a scramble position. He had mount for a second there. But then he couldn't keep the position. He lost that armbar attempt, and then Hernandez started to go to work on him. Second round, I thought, okay, back on the feet. Maybe Shabazian can keep it standing. Shabazian landed a jab, but then he gets shot to the fence again. He's able to defend. Then he shoots a counter single leg against the fence, but then he gets sprawled on heavily, gives up his back. Hernandez spins around, and he gets beat up a little bit, a couple submission attempts. And then Fluffy's going for those modified guillotines like he does, sort of from the cradle position. And then Shabazian kept escaping them, though. He defended the rear naked choke attempt. He fought like hell. He fought very tough. But that was like a big mistake for Shabazian. Why would he try to shoot a single leg against Anthony Hernandez? Like, you want to keep it at range. You want to keep him as far away from you as possible with you still being able to hit him with punches. It's just a bad mistake, man. He wanted to wrestle with Anthony Hernandez. And Shabazian cannot keep that pace with Anthony Hernandez wrestling. He was having success on the feet against him in the first round. He hurt him a couple times. It was bad IQ from him. Then, third round, it was pretty much over. Like, at the end of that second round, Shabazian was beat up. In the third round, Fluffy catches the kick. He gets a single leg lift off the fence, takes his back, ground and pound, goes for a naked choke. Shabazian defends it, and just gets a TKO via ground and pound from the back mount. So there you have it, man. Yeah, the first round looked very promising for Shabazian. He hurt him immediately. He rocked him immediately with a jab. So, tough one for me. I should have stuck with my gut. I should have laid the minus 200 on him. What is it? I laid it on Joaquin Buckley. Why couldn't I lay it on Anthony Hernandez? I don't know. Stupid mistake, I guess. But I just got to do better with, deciding where I want to lay the chalk at. So, but neither guy was technically ranked in that fight. But I feel like Hernandez needs to fight a ranked opponent. I think Hernandez deserves to be in those rankings, honestly. You got Andre Muniz at number 15. He's fighting Chris Curtis. And then Brendan Allen, he was supposed to fight Jack Hermanson. That fight fell apart. So Brendan Allen and Fluffy Hernandez, I think that's a perfect fight. Two younger guys in the division trying to make a name for themselves. Brendan Allen, he's on a nice win streak now, but he got knocked out by, who did he get knocked out by? Freaking Chris Curtis. So, you know, I think he kind of still needs to prove himself in those rankings. They were going to give him Jack Hermanson, which is like the ultimate test of like getting into the top 10. That fight's not happening. I think Brendan Allen could use one fight where the guy he's fighting might be a little bit below him, at least in the rankings. I think Brendan Allen, Flavio Hernandez is a hell of a fight, and I think it's going to show us who's like the next younger prospect at 185. So I like that fight. But then, of course, you have that weird fight with Aliskerov and Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa, number 5. Middleweight is a damn mess right now. So, yeah, I don't know. Or like Roman Dolidze, if Roman Dolidze wants like a bounce back fight. Actually, no, because Roman Dolidze, I'm sorry, Roman Dolidze, no, because he almost beat Marvin Vettori. I would go Brendan Allen and Flavio Hernandez. I think that's the fight. I think you do that one. It's good. Flavio Hernandez has elite wrestling at 185. Derek Brunson has retired. So Izzy's kryptonite is apparently wrestling, and that's the story they're going to say anyway. So, yeah, I like the fight. All right. Main event of the evening. I thought this main event was awesome. It was a lot better than people expected that I expected it to be. Everybody was talking shit on this card because this main event isn't great. Mackenzie Durham's coming in at number 8. Angela Hill's coming in at number 14, I believe. So everybody's like, oh, this fight doesn't mean anything. Well, this fight was fucking awesome. And Angela Hill is a dog. And Mackenzie Dern is a dog, and she's back, and she's more aggressive than ever, and she's pissed off, and she beat the shit out of Angela Hill, but Angela Hill did not give up, and I just love fights like that. Angela Hill, 38 years old, the elite gatekeeper, I guess you'd call her. She got robbed a bunch of times by some elite fighters in that division. Got robbed from Michelle Gomez and Amanda Lemos. I really thought she beat Amanda Lemos. So, she's legit. Angela Hill's a legitimate test for anybody. And Mackenzie Dern beat the shit out of her. And Mackenzie Dern's back, ladies and gentlemen. Got this one wrong. I went with Angela Hill, of course. I don't feel bad about that because I thought Mackenzie Dern was on the slide. And Angela Hill's plus 135, and I just didn't want to like chalk on Mackenzie Dern. I didn't know. Like if her biggest problem was she did not throw any ground and pound, or at least not heavy ground and pound on the mat. But she sure as hell fixed that for this fight, and she looked amazing. And I got another wrong pick, so whatever. But quick recap. First round, Mackenzie was just blitzing like a bat out of hell. She gets a hip toss, but Angela was able to roll through there, and then Angela got on top. So I was like, oh man, and this is gonna like Angela Hill is. I thought she was like gonna make her statement early, but Mackenzie Dern came back from all this. Mackenzie drops her and then right after that, Mackenzie dropped her with the straight blitz. Tries to take her back, and then she goes for the knee bar attempt, and then she's able to take him out, lands some heavy ground and pound, goes for that arm bar on top, but I thought it was so close. I thought Mackenzie was so close to getting it, but Angela Hill was fighting tooth and nail, and she didn't let her have it. But then the second round, my hopes got up a little bit, because Angela, she landed a nice counter left hook, but then she gets rocked, and then she hurts her with a blitz. So Angela landed a left hook, But then Mackenzie hurt her with like a blitz, so they're kind of going back and forth. But Angela was hanging in there. But then Angela was able to duck the overhand of Mackenzie. She takes her back, gets her on her back standing, and then she clinches, lands some nice knees in there. That was the thing going into this fight. I thought Angela might be able to get whenever Mackenzie's trying to top with her. I thought she'd be able to throw those tie knees to the body a lot. Barely threw them, but she got him in this round. But then Angela lands across in the pocket when they're into a firefight. And I thought Angela squeaked out the second round, so I felt kind of good going in the third, but after that, I did not feel good at all. In the third round, Mackenzie rocks her again with a knee to the head. She tries to go for the hip toss, but Angela rolls through yet again. Don't know how she did that when she was that beat up. But then they get back on the feet. Mackenzie landed a hip toss on the fence. Finally gets it because Angela was doing a good job of stuffing. She had a whizzer, but she had it right against the fence, and Angela just couldn't sprawl her hips in enough. And then Mackenzie's able to take the back mount, land some nice ground and pound, and then she goes into full mount position and goes for that arm bar again on top, but Angela does not let her have her arm. I was So impressed by Angela's toughness. Then in the 4th round, McKenzie's landed some straight rights in the clinch battle. Mackenzie was mostly winning these clinch battles at this point. She was getting Angela up against the fence, but then Angela was able to duck the overhand. She's able to take Mackenzie's back, gets a nice mat return, but then Mackenzie hip heists in that position. And then but then Angela was like had that arm triangle from the bottom position, and from the angle on TV it kind of looked tight, and honestly like Mackenzie's arm was like limp, so I thought maybe something happened, but then she put her thumbs up and it didn't really do anything, and Mackenzie just got a really nice reversal there at the end. And then in the 5th round, Mackenzie landed a nice blitz. She gets a head and arm throw on the fence, right into full guard, lands some nice ground and pound. She postures up, and then she spins behind the back, a couple of naked choke attempts, and then she transitions to full mount, lands some nasty ground and pound to finish off the fight. Just gave Angela Hill everything she could possibly handle. And Mackenzie Dern is back, ladies and gentlemen. You could say all you want about the rankings, but let's be real. Yan Xiaonan knocked out Jessica Andrade. Anything can happen at this weight class. And it's only going to take a couple good wins. And Angela Hill's tougher than people give her credit for. Like, she's a better opponent than people give her credit for. Amanda Lemos is number 4 right now. I really thought Angela Hill beat her. Now, I know the Virna Jandiroba, that was a clear win for Virna Jandiroba, but Virna Jandiroba is a number 6, okay? Angela Hill is older. She's on the last part of her career, but she's not some scrub, okay? Mackenzie Dern, when's the last time you seen somebody beat Angela Hill like that? Like, beat the living shit out of her, dude. And who's the last person that's finished Angela Hill? It's been a while. So Mackenzie Dern did about as good as you can ask anybody to do. She was so close to getting that armbar. I think she could have got that armbar on pretty much anybody else except Angela Hill. Angela Hill is just very special, very tough, and she didn't want to give up. So good for her, good for both ladies. I thought Angela Hill has a lot to be proud of in this fight. Mackenzie Dern is possibly a title challenger, and like I said, Angela Hill, she's 38, okay? But fight of the night, sure. I thought it was awesome. And I love watching Mackenzie Dern fight because that's like white knuckles, nail-biting stuff whenever she's on top and she's trying to rip her arm off, and Angela Hill was holding on by her fingertips. She did that again. It was the same against Yan Xiaonan. You're just on the edge of your seat from submission attempts, and that's special. Well, I think Mackenzie Dern called out Rose Namajunas, and why not? I think that's a perfect fight. We don't know if Rose is going to 125 or what she's doing. It's been over a year since she fought Carla Esparza. Carla Esparza is pregnant, so she's gone for a while. Amanda Lemos is fighting for the title. Yan Xiaonan's probably fighting for the title right after her. Jessica Andrade just got knocked out. Could be Virna Jandiroba, but why not Rose Namajunas? I think that's a good tune-up-ish fight for Rose Namajunas if she wants to come back. And that style matchup is awesome because, you know, Zhang Weili was taking down Rose. So can Rose deal with Mackenzie's submission attempts? I don't know, but I'd like to see it. But overall, the card was okay. I thought the main event really carried the fight. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. And then the co-main event was really good as well, but it kind of just went how we thought it would go. And then Buckley got a great knockout, and then Diego Ferreira got a stunner knockout out of nowhere. Decent card. Not a ton of name value, not a ton of stakes, but yeah, we got some good fights. Obviously, horrible performance. It's embarrassing. I'm just going to regroup and learn my lessons. Just really going to bet on who I think is going to win. I'm trying to not think about the odds so much. And go with my gut. Most of the time, it's right. Like with the Hernandez-Shabazian fight, initially I thought Hernandez would run through him. That's what happened. I trust myself more. And it's really bet on who I think is going to win. Thanks, everyone. We'll get them next time. I promise we'll get back on track. Couple weeks. Should have a fun fight night. I think we have, Kai Kara France and Amir Albazi. So that's a good one. That's a high-ranking fight at flyweight, and I'm excited.